address this issue. Number 4, we've seen on Surrey Police and Surrey Beat Facebook pages recently some excellent responses to Class A and B drug dealers who've been arrested and in some cases sent to prison. After a huge amount of hard work and time that the police spend getting some justice and putting these people behind bars, the judicial system seems to be giving out very light sentences for what is a very serious crime. This one is for the PCC. Under the PCC's work with criminal justice partners, is she able to influence that the sentences should be reviewed for future cases? So I would leave that with the PCC to answer then, if that's a question for her. But would say that police do feed into the sentencing council. So in my previous role, I was the staff officer to the chief constable. So I've been staff officer to Nick F. Grave and to Gavin Stevens. And Nick F. Grave did form part of that sentencing council meetings that he would go to help shape those sentencing guidelines. And those sentencing guidelines have been subject to a lot of kind of shaping and review, and those are available on their website online. And number 1, I think this one's for the PCC as well, but I'll help if I can. Over the past few years, Surrey Heath residents have been asked to pay more council tax, specifically for the purpose of employing new police officers, and what plans are in place to fulfil this. So I'm sure the PCC will be able to talk about the organisational plan and her plan with increasing staff numbers, but we've certainly seen that in Surrey Heath. The result of the precept increase has resulted in us having more police officers than there were before. So I've got more PCSOs and I've got more PCs in Surrey Heath to address neighbourhood policing. And we've got Police Now officers as well. And we should also not forget the other teams which have been put in place, which have an impact on our ability to do our jobs better. So there's been an increased investment in our domestic abuse team. So all of the domestic abuse cases, as we said, that's a divisional and a force priority. They will go to our domestic abuse team. So prior to that, they had been investigated by MPT, who are our response team, who are also balancing up, trying to respond to missing people, concerns for safety, immediate threats to life and threats to property. They're trying to balance those longer term investigations into domestic abuse with that response role as well. So what we've done is move those investigations. So MPT our response teams will still respond to the immediate report, do those golden hour investigative opportunities, get a really, really good handover together, gather that evidence, arrest suspects where it's necessary to do so, and get them into custody so we can then hand it over to our specialist domestic abuse investigation team. So that investment then allows now your local neighbourhood policing team, the response team, to focus on some of those borough priorities that I'm setting. And we're able then to target those people within Surrey Heath who are presenting the greatest threat, harm and risk and causing the most crime and disruption. Additionally, we have a problem-solving team which has been set up, who are able to provide us with specialist advice and guidance on some of these longer-term issues of antisocial behaviour, where some of the traditional methods of solving them haven't worked. They can provide some advice and guidance on what else we can do. So sitting behind us is the whole organisation. We are, I guess, in the neighbourhood team, that tip of the spear in contact with the public. But sitting behind us is the whole organisation who are also helping to keep you safe. So that's the end of the questions there. And some of the things that we're doing, it's coming up again. Well, we're within that winter period where we sometimes see an increase in burglaries. That's what we expect from looking at the data from previous years. Last year, you'll know that we worked with the Neighbourhood Watch in Bagshot, where we had a problem-solving plan in place to try and tackle burglaries, where we looked at some of the common themes, which properties were being targeted, and then we're able to go to those properties and provide them with some advice on making their properties look more occupied, more of a difficult target, more of a risky prospect. We were able to do some joint patrolling where we had some success with arresting people in the area. And this year we are doing something similar in Mitchett and Frimley. If you follow Surrey Heath Beat on Facebook, which I highly recommend you to do, you will have seen some a post from me talking about that when I was in Mitchett talking about that. We have also just done the Operation Sceptre was last week, which is the national intensification period for knife crime. So we've been doing a lot of communication work there, and we've been in communication with some of our higher risk people within the borough who are more likely to be carrying knives to make sure to try and divert them from that activity. And one of the things I'd say is I'd love to get more intelligence about that. So in the last year, the public have generated in Surrey about 13,000 pieces of intelligence, and that is absolutely amazing. And I'd love to have more about knife crime and people that might be in possession of really dangerous weapons at home, and people that might be carrying them on the streets, so that we can go and talk to them and try and intervene, because we know that if you carry a knife, you are more likely to come to serious harm as a result of carrying that knife. And finally, thank you for all your support throughout the time that I've been the Borough Commander in Surrey Heath. Really, I've been so impressed with the level of engagement and enthusiasm from the Neighbourhood Watch in Surrey Heath, and the person coming to take over from me is really lucky to have a group such as you who are so engaged with keeping the community safe. And on that note, I'm in a position now to introduce the person taking over from me, who will be Inspector Gemma Taylor.
Hello everybody, my name's Inspector Gemma Taylor. As Alick just introduced, I was the person behind the camera on this occasion. I'm just starting to get used to being back in front of the camera again. Hopefully I'll be taking over from Alick towards the end of January once the current piece of work that I'm doing in custody is completed. You may recognise me. I was a PCSO for Surrey Heath in the town centre about 12 years ago now, so it's really great to be coming back to the borough, and I'm really excited to be working with you all and the wider community in the future.